Hey everybody, Keisha here. So today I want to talk to you a little bit real quick about Tina Peters' case. So on April 9th, 2024, myself, Maureen Steele, and Ann Vandersteel all went into the state of Colorado to file a petition for redress of grievances. Tina Peters actually also signed this petition. In fact, she actually had exculpatory evidence related to the election fraud that was outlined in the petition that was not allowed to go into the court. The petition was not brought to the floor, and as a result, Tina Peters was unlawfully imprisoned. My father, Dale Richardson, was actually tortured in the state of Colorado to suppress his evidence of treason against the United States, which was based on improper engineering controls which allowed for the spread of the COVID-19 virus, which was likewise created at Wuhan by Peter Daszak and the EcoHealth Alliance with the pathogen, which were handed over to the Chinese by the Winnipeg Biolabs. This created the circumstances for widespread election fraud. My father Dale and I are friends of Tina Peters, who has been politically persecuted for standing up for the liberty of all Americans. And she, as a sister in Christ, has been persecuted like I have for standing up for the liberty of all people. In the state of Colorado, women and Christians are being persecuted on monumental levels, and I'm calling for everyone to stand up for Tina Peters in every way possible, including using the CARES Project Action Plan to compel the state government to put the petition for redress of grievance to the floor so that Tina Peters can petition before the state house that belongs to the people. And if Colorado continues to deny a Republican form of government, we will implore that Congress and President Donald J. Trump initiate Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, which guarantees a Republican form of government, to the states, and use that just power to intervene and provide what the Constitution has ordained. The time is upon us to come together and stand united as people, and let the world know that we stand together to preserve this perfect union for all Americans and our posterity. That is why, y'all already know, I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Ciao, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CARES Project podcast. We're back again with Nikki, Moonitz, and obviously my daughter. Good to see you. It's a long time since we've done a podcast.
Yes, it has. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. And so we were having that conversation about the feminization of men. And this is something that's a big problem in our society today. And so we'll pull up some clips and we'll discuss them. There's that lady there, that Helen Andrews that you had mentioned. I've seen her before, so we'll start with one of her clips. Get that up here. And anything you want to say kind of on that topic of feminization? Get that going.
I can't top anything she's going to say. This lady's brilliant. I agree with everything I've heard her say so far.
All right, so let's get this up and we'll start this off.
Well, why is your newsroom full of ladies? Because ladies are great journalists. I don't know what to do.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you guys.
Sorry, I had Keisha's video in there instead of actually her. I was like, that shouldn't be playing like that. All right, let's try that again. All right.
The piece of evidence that persuaded me that that's not what's going on is the way institutions tend to become more and more feminized with the passage of time. If it were just a matter of women outcompeting men, you would expect institutions to reach 50-50 gender parity and then roughly stay there, if you assume that talent is equally distributed. But instead, we see that institutions that reach 50% women tend to then become 52, 55, 56. The one institution that's way far out at the end of that process is psychology, the field of psychology. Mm-hmm. 3/4 of graduate students in psychology now are women. It is an extremely feminized field. And we see that over and over in other institutions as well, although usually not so far advanced. As fields become feminized, what it looks like to me is they become distinctly unwelcoming to men. Because if you're a man and you're interested in psychology, maybe you're interested in particular branches of psychology that tend to appeal to the male mind more, like neuropsychology, the hard science stuff, whatever. But then you show up in your psychology department and it's a bunch of women and they are not interested in the same aspects of psychology that you are. They're not willing to debate with you in the way that you think academic debate should be conducted. You just find the whole atmosphere really, really feminized and you think, do I really want to spend my career here? I don't think I do. Or if you, I honestly can't imagine what it would have been like to be a male New York Times reporter during peak woke. Like, we all caught a glimpse of the internal workings of that institution during the Barry Weiss saga when they sort of bullied her out of her job. But it really did seem to be quite a toxic place with lots of backbiting and gossip and factions and teams and cruelty to people who work for your same employer, to whom you owe a duty of basic professionalism. So people seem not to be meeting that basic duty. And I think if you were a man, you would find all of that deeply alienating. I mean, any human being would find that deeply alienating. So what that means is if you're in an institution that has become feminized, it's only going to get more feminized as men find it unwelcoming and go away. If we now want to reverse that process, we may have to carve out little islands within psychology or journalism or wherever and say, all right, this is going to be a safe space for men to pursue this institution or this field in a masculine way, and we're all going to let them do that. And it's not going to be okay.
Well, one of the things that occurred to me as you were talking is one of the reasons an institution might carry on with this sort of runaway feminization, to borrow a term from the climate change debate, is the other point you made earlier, which is that, like, I can easily imagine being me in a New York Times editorial room going in my head, well, this is all crazy. Like, why are we doing this? But if you feel the way the wind is blowing, you're probably not going to say anything. And so the corrective mechanism that would have existed once, which is, guys, what are we doing? That doesn't really exist because dissent is not part of the process. It's not encouraged and tolerated. It's punished and ostracized. That would sort of explain the runaway dimension of all of this, right?
Definitely.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
The thing that also that I worry, and I've been talking about this quite a bit. Constantine's gonna.
Is your mother from Venezuela, mate?
No, it's the fact that I used to be a teacher.
All right, go on.
No, it's the kind of the death of the maverick, essentially. Mm-hmm. We used to see, whether it was in movie making or acting or journalism and all these professions, there'd be that kind of rebel voice, which was kind of accepted and tolerated within the industry because they'd be like, I mean, he's kind of, and it all frequently was a he. I mean, he's kind of kooky, but sometimes, he'll say things or do things. You'll be like, wow, that is genuinely brilliant. And he's the only one capable of that because he's got this, quirky, individualistic, rebel type mindset. And my concern is with the feminization, if it's true, and I believe it is, which values homogeneity, you're going to eliminate those voices.
Thoughts?
Like I say, I agree with everything she says. Women in the institutions have not improved anything, and women leaving the home have made everything worse, as far as I'm concerned. I think women going into the workforce and paying someone else to raise their kids is one of the most detrimental things to happen to society.
I agree. I agree. Who's got their microphone? Oh. You're okay. I think we're good now because I can no longer hear myself. Yeah, I agree because when women entered into the workforce, like they said, there's that idea of where men would not, they wouldn't take that type of treatment. Okay, what happened? I guess you have to log back in. When men took this, men would have this kind of treatment, they would normally buck up and say, "No, we're not going to do this because we're not going to take that anymore." But with the women coming into the workforce, it's going to they have a more of let's all get along type of mentality where men are like this before. I need to feed my family and my loved ones, and I'm not going to take this from you. And if you're doing something wrong, no, because I have to protect my family, right? So there's a little bit of that going. That's kind of came down.
Plus, women are tribal. They start to they'll gang up against the men. Hold on, I'm going to turn my headphones up. What's going
Yeah,
on? Yeah. So, like, men don't have a chance in there, like, because women are getting higher and higher up, and so then they have the final say, and they don't appreciate. Men shoot from the hip. Women want everything organized in its neat little package, and they want they want everything right in front of them to be all rainbows and unicorns, and they don't want to deal with something hard now so that it can be better later, which is why usually the men are the disciplinarians in a family. The women are the nurturers. And so if women aren't focusing that on the family, then they're focusing that on whatever cause du jour they pick, which is right now illegal aliens, no matter what they've done. No, I mean, I haven't seen any of these useful idiots like speak up about the illegal aliens that are raping kids and murdering people, and but they'll get in your face to protect them from being deported. And they would probably say, well, no, we're not protecting those ones, but they're not being distinctive at all out there. They're not being selective. They're not saying, oh, well, this one you shouldn't be deporting. They're just out there stopping ICE from doing its job altogether.
Yes,
So,
they're like not that some of it's bad. They're like it's all bad,
yeah.
right? It's not either or. You're kind of like you're either all good or all bad, and that's really not the way the world works.
Yeah. And what's crazy about these people is they judge America so harshly based on its supposedly barbaric past, but they want to go back to that. They want to go back to mob rule in the streets. They don't want law and order. They don't want us to settle our differences in court. They want their way right now, and they'll use violence to stop anything that they don't want. And they're not even looking 2 steps ahead to see where that leads. So they're taking us back to a time where everybody had to fight to get what they want. But that's the very thing they're saying we can't be forgiven for, even though everybody in the world was that way. We progressed out of it. The West progressed out of it, and they want to regress back to that. They want to regress to just mob rule in the streets.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we can't go back to because it obviously it's not going to benefit anybody. But actually, I'm going to pull this. Let me see if I have it here. Oh yes, because this woman, like how she talked about, like how you talked about, the women will kind of be tribal and gang up on people. It's just I'm going to pull this up about this girl. She talked about something in what happened to her when she came from Russia, and then she was in Canada, and then she had a very bad experience with school and life in Canada because it's very different than what she was used to in Russia. But it's this is going to be kind of let's just look at what she has.
This is a hot take, but Canada is a country of bullies parading around as virtue signalers. I came to Canada at just 12 years old, and my very first thought as a young kid was, wow, I've never seen more fake, hypocritical, and insecure people all in one place ever before in my life. If you're a Canadian watching this, this is not to say that 100% of the people are the same, not to paint every single person with the same brush. I have a few best friends that still live in Canada that I get to meet with outside of the country because I never wish to go back. But either way, there's some people that I really care about that live there. But my observation was of the average person, and that continued on from the moment that I was 12 to the moment that I was 18 to the moment that I finally left at 23. Honestly, before Canada, I lived in Russia. That's not exactly the warmest, kindest, least complicated place in the world. But let me tell you something about Russian people. At least we're direct. At least we're honest. If we don't like you, you're gonna know. That's not what I've observed with Canadians. In 99% of contexts with Canadians, it was like a Mean Girl skit reenacted. It was always like, hi, how are you? Oh my gosh, we should catch up. And then they never do. They don't care. Sincerely, they don't care if you die tomorrow. Sorry for the crude wording, but people need to know this. It's not good to be nice and polite if it's not sincere. And with most Canadians, it's so like, it's frowned upon to just be honest. They could hate you. They could hate what you're wearing. They could hate everything about you and still smile at you. So when I was in high school in Canada, and that was just the beginning of my journey, I was bullied not only by the girls my age, but I would say even more so by the middle-aged women, their mothers. I would always go to school really nicely put together, dressed up, feminine, because that's in my Eastern European culture. Eastern European girls, we like to dress up, we like to look good. We don't care if we're going to school or to a special event. We like to dress presentably and elegantly. And just because of that, the rumors that I would hear coming from these terribly envious, insecure, middle-aged women were horrendous. I found out later that they would call me, for instance, the school bicycle. Are you catching on? I was always one of the most innocent people. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to drink. I always held conservative values, but for some reason, for being dressed a certain way that was feminine, I was an SLUT. Just because of the way that I was dressed, and they would make up stories and rumors. And this was propagated by women who you'd think are old enough to know better. It was really disgusting. But same with the kids. No one was friendly. No one was welcoming of a fresh off the boat immigrant. I did not experience that Canadian friendliness and warmth that's talked about in other countries. It's a myth. They'll smile at your face, and then as soon as you turn around, they'll happily throw daggers at your back. One main problem that everything boils down to with Canada is that there's no real core identity for what it means to be Canadian. If you think about it, what could you name? Hockey, maple syrup, or the whole sentiment of multiculturalism is our strength? That is the problem. It's not like the USA where people come in and they assimilate and they take pride in becoming an American. In Canada, it's everyone for themselves. Honestly, I've lived it. The Russians stick with the Russian, the Serbians stick with the Serbs, the Chinese stick with the Chinese, the Indians stick with the Indians. It goes on and on and on. It's just fact. And no one is uniting because no one has a single uniting cultural identity element to defend or take pride in. And at the end of the day, people are kind of spineless. Everyone is just kind of scared to offend the other person and scared to speak the truth. The Canadian society at large is not that of leaders. It's that of followers. It's just people looking over their shoulder, trying to see what their neighbor's doing and seeing if they copy them or if they envy them. It's really just so much envy, insecurity, and absolute fear of being authentic. That's exactly what I experienced. I was authentic in high school. I was authentic going forward as well, but I'm just using high school as an example. People didn't like it. They didn't like it that I stood out. And then when I left, they didn't like it that I continued holding my own opinions, holding my ground. I genuinely did not see any love or pride in that country.
I think she just summed up the left in general.
That's
the
just
left
the left.
everywhere.
That's the left and the right. In Canada, that's the left and the right. That's everybody. Like,
In Canada?
nobody
Really?
wants to see, nobody wants to see you succeed in Canada. Like, I had that same problem where I would just do my own thing in high school. And then people would be like, oh, that hoe, I'm like, I don't leave the house. Like, I turned down these guys that try to come at me sideways, and they put a rumor that I slept with them. And then after that, I was like, I'm done with everybody. Like, I just done my own thing. And people were still always copying me, always following the stuff I want to do, but they were like the envy that she was talking about. That's real. And the adults do it, the kids do it. Nobody wants to be sincere or genuine. They'll say something to your face and then behind your back it's on go. One thing that I can appreciate about like America is that people will disrespect you in front of your face. And I can appreciate that because I would rather someone tell me that they hate me and like demonstrate it to my face than be like nice to me and then behind the back door. And it was weird for me because I grew up in a West Indian household. Like my dad's family, like my dad's born in Canada, but both of his parents are from the West Indies. So I had a very immigrant upbringing, and then all of his sisters had kids with Europeans. So it's like it was so foreign to me what I was watching the kids do in Canada. And it like her exact experience, I lived it my whole life. Kindergarten all the way up. It's weird. And there's nothing, she's right, there's nothing about Canada that actually unifies us because everybody, like the Japanese are with the Japanese, the Russians are with the Russians, the Serbians with the Serbians, you know, what Africans with whatever country they're from in Africa, whether it's Nigerians or Ghanaians. There's nothing that keeps us together as Canadians. Like, I would always make the joke to people, like, we have maple syrup and raspberries and Tim Hortons. Like, that's all
I could think of was maple syrup.
Yeah.
And rush.
Like, maple syrup is the thing. Yeah. So, yeah, like, countries need something to unify them or else they're not going to be with it. And especially, I had traditional family values because I came from a family of, like, immigrants, which were very traditional because it's really just the West that's super feminized like this, like, in the way that we're seeing it. And I was hated completely because nobody liked that. Everybody wanted to be the feminist, the boss babe, the go-getter. And I was like, I want to have a family. I want a husband and children. I want to be a wife and a mom. And they're like, you're a loser. You're a scrub. You suck and you're stupid. I'm like, okay, well, there it is. So yeah, I totally get what she's saying.
Yeah, I don't know what American high schools are like because I left home so early. I only went to 2 classes my freshman year and then I left home. But I know that, you know, I think girls are brutal. I think girls have always been brutal. I mean, anyone who thinks like on the playground, anyone who thinks boys had it worse than girls, I was like, you don't know. You do not know how girls are out there, man. Boys, they'll get in a fight and then they're best friends. You know, like girls, they'll freaking poison you in the cafeteria if they can.
They'll ruin your life. When I was in kindergarten, wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me? When I was in kindergarten, I used to play soccer with the guys, like at recess, because I liked sports. I grew up with a single dad, you know, like, and a bunch of male cousins. So I liked sports. At recess, I'd always play soccer with the guys, and they were part of the cool group. And it, like, for first couple years of elementary, I was doing that. One day, this one girl, she hated me. She absolutely hated me. I don't know why. She ended up she liked the guy, I think, that I was like friends with. He was a cool
Well, now
guy.
you know why.
She ended she ends up being like, she tells, man, if you stay friends with her, I'm gonna tell everyone that you're dating. So she blackmailed him into extricating me from the group. And then after that, he was like, we can't be friends because I have to focus on my school because she's gonna like tell everyone something else. And then he stayed friends with the blackmailer and threw me to the side. After that, I wasn't cool in school ever again. Like, after that, I was like, because you go to the school with the same people until grade 12.
Yeah. I wasn't cool until I left, and then I was super cool. Like, because when I ran away, my sister and brother still went to school, and everyone was like, "Oh, Nikki's your sister." And I was like, suddenly I was like the coolest thing ever because I wasn't there. That's one of the problems is that these people are just like they're all suffering from like a groupthink herd mentality. And when someone stands out and goes against the herd, they all know it's kind of in their face that they're not being authentic, and they know that, and they don't like that, and so they'll lash out at the people who go against the herd. And as far as the unifying culture stuff that you're talking about, it's only going to get worse, because with smartphones and with the internet, every single person is an island of their own now. We don't have the unifying things we did when I was young. We all looked forward to holiday shows that were coming on TV. We couldn't just put them on whenever we wanted. We all listened to the same music because we were listening to the same radio stations, and we couldn't just go pick whatever song we wanted to listen to whenever we wanted to. And so there were things we had in common that we, like, now everyone my age, we love, like my boyfriend's band, he plays songs from the 70s that we don't hear very much anymore. And I look around every single time in the audience, and everyone's just like, they're all just smiling ear to ear. They're like, I forgot about this song. I forgot it. And it's a communal thing because we all listen to it together. And people aren't going to have that now. Like anywhere where there's, internet and social media and all this, they're not going to have, there's not going to be a nation culture for very long, because people aren't and then that was my biggest problem with, like, Colin Kaepernick kneeling at the game. I was like, look, the problem is the left there were a few things that we could go to that politics were put aside. We would go to sports, like that's what the Olympics were. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is that the
Okay.
race guy?
Yeah, the guy with the afro that had
Yeah.
Oh,
but my point, I was just, it's like we need somewhere where we can all go and have a good time together, where politics don't matter. And the left made a very open and concerted effort to remove all of those. They inserted their politics in our sports, and it wasn't even open for dialogue. It was, you're going to listen to us lecture you, and you don't get to respond. And if you don't go along with it, then you support all the bad things that we oppose. There's no room for dialogue. And then they put out those little memos about how to deal with your conservative uncle at Thanksgiving and things like that. They intentionally removed every single thing we could do communally without politics being a divider.
You know what, Nikki? I think you're right. When you said the left initially, I'm going to backtrack on my point a little bit, because I said it's the left and the right in Canada. But I think what you just explained there actually demonstrates why it's like that on the left and the right, because the left actually made it that way. Because now the right actually doesn't have the opportunity to go and do these things, because they've done all these little things in all the different areas of society to coerce and force people into pretty much shutting up and not being able to express themselves in a way that's just natural or normal. Like how to deal with the conservative uncle at Christmas dinner is crazy. Like, is insane, but that's essentially what it is. And then in the schools, like when I was coming up, if you had conservative values, the teachers would target you even more. Like, they would punish you for any conservative value whatsoever, which was crazy, because in one sense, they would look at you like, oh, you're so exotic. And teachers would literally say this to me and other kids who had family that were like not like singularly just Canadian. They're like, oh, you look so exotic. So you're attractive, but let's also punish you because you have the values that are conservative and family based and based on God. And they wanted to completely shut you out of anything like that. They wanted you to be completely liberal and like free spirited, free minded, whatever. And you were cooked. You're pretty much cooked, because as a kid, if you're in school and you want to like have friends, you want to do well in class, if the teacher hates you, we're supposed to have like, a neutral grounding, but if teacher hates you, you're not getting good grades. Like, that's just what it is. Like,
and think about it,
a common experience.
Yeah, and schools are supposed to teach you how to think and how to explore.
Yes.
And instead they're
not what to think.
cramming
Yeah.
conformity down your throat. And the adults
Right.
are the bullies now. It's like the kids are bullies
Right.
too, but the adults are bullies, and the adults
The
are doing the
adults
peer
are.
pressure. Yeah. So how
When I
is a
was in
kid
school,
supposed
when
to Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how are kids supposed to stand up to that? They're hearing it from
Exactly.
kindergarten now,
Yes,
which
because when I
also
was in
leads to all
school,
the trans stuff. Go ahead.
yes, and I dealt with that too. Like, and when I was in school, the teachers would I would like being by myself, and the teachers would tell me, Keisha, you're a ringleader. You have to be friend. Like, they would blame me. I would try to be by myself, and they would still blame me for the actions of other people, and then while simultaneously telling me that I need to be friends with people. It wasn't until high school where I was like, F this. I don't want to be friends with anybody. I'm gonna be by myself. And I ended up being so much more happy. And like, you were more popular when you left, I was more popular when I left too, because then everybody was like, oh, Keisha, she's off doing this and whatever, by myself. And then I was like, oh, I'm much more happy. And I think if the teachers didn't push me in so many different ways, like when I was younger, like from kindergarten all the way, I would have found the things that I enjoy a lot more peace a lot earlier on, instead of people trying to be like, oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. They try to force kids to do things and then blame them for the bad outcomes that the kids are doing. And it's like, you're causing it. And then when you try to tell them, oh, well, my father told me to do this, or my granny wants me to do this because I was raised by my dad, my grandma, and great grandma, then they would tell you, you shouldn't be doing that. Your parents are wrong. They would straight up tell you. And then they give you to counselors, and then the counselors would tell you, your parents are wrong, and this is why, and this is abuse, and this is bad mindset, and you need to do this. So they're like, they target the kids that are conservative and try to do their best to actually coerce and force them into a certain ideology. And I was the kind of person as well. The kids that stand up for what's right and try to fight against the wrong things, if you try to defend yourself, you get suspended. I was suspended so many times for defending myself or defending other people. And the teachers will punish you more than the perpetrator. And
Yeah.
like the woman said, it's always the female teachers. It's
Yeah.
always the female vice
When I,
president, the
when I
female
was a
teachers, the
runaway,
female counselors, all of them.
when I was a runaway, the female police were the worst. Oh my gosh! Because I spent
Yes,
I
they
spent
are.
half my time avoiding the police. If it was a female cop, I was like, oh man, I'm screwed. Because they're trying so hard to prove that they're tough, that they can do it, and they will just be tyrants. But think about it, how
Yes.
crazy that is with the teachers, is that it doesn't even occur to these people, and this is again common across the left. It doesn't even occur to them that they're wrong. It doesn't even occur to them
Right.
that maybe there's other ways to live, which is why I won't call them liberals, because liberals supposedly live and let live. You do your way. I agree with your right to choose however you want to live, whatever. And the left doesn't do that. The left will not tolerate any kind. They say diversity is our greatest strength, but the only diversity that really matters is diversity of thought, and they won't tolerate that at all, not even remotely.
Right.
It's
And,
insane.
like,
and now you have kids out on the street.
Yes, and that's why I used to be a liberal when I was growing up. Like, I wouldn't declare myself like liberal or conservative, but I was more on that liberal mindset because I was live and let live. You do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do.
Right.
The teachers, like you said, the females would be the worst. Like the female teachers would make you feel stupid more than anything, but the men teachers, they were always like, I see potential in you in this way, and this is what you can do. I remember one class when I was in high school. It was like the first month of our English class. I was freshman in high school, and the teacher, she looked around the class and she's like, who of you read the Bible? And I was like, me, and I was the only one that put my hand up, and she was like, I can tell. And I was
oh
like,
my gosh.
and she goes,
well, I can tell you don't.
Right. And she really liked old English stuff like Shakespeare and all that other stuff, and she did attribute my understanding to those things and that old type of English and whatever because of the specific version of the Bible that I read. But she was like, I could tell. and she's a very sweet teacher, but at the same time, there's things that teachers do intentionally to out children and point things out to kind of
Yeah.
like embarrass them. And it's just like, that's not
And
how
then
you
it
do
gives
that,
all the
you know
other
what I
kids
mean?
permission to pick on you, which is
Yes,
what
and
they're
they did.
doing.
And they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
So it's
when
a
you were
system
just,
set up to fail.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, when you were just talking, one thing I thought of, because I think like my best teachers were men. And one thing I think is
Yes.
men don't take it personally if you don't think like them. Women do.
No.
Women act like it's an attack
Yes.
on their very existence if someone doesn't think like them. And so that's why women teachers can be so. Now, with all this said, I've got to say, my son, the best teacher he ever had was a woman, and she saved him because he was like
Wow.
really struggling because my oldest son had died, and my two younger sons were trying to pick up the pieces, and he was really, really struggling and kind of just ready to give up. And this was in the 3rd grade. And she just it's like she worked so hard on him, showed him so much love.
Wow.
And then she even said, I want to make sure he goes to a good teacher in the next grade. And she made sure that she directed where he went. So I want to say there are good female teachers out there, but I think my best teachers were men. For one, because I think more like a guy, and I need logic. I don't like gray. I like black and white. I love math. I like
It's the INTJ mind.
Right. And women I don't understand like when the rules change all the time, and that's what happens when you're ruled by your moods, when you're ruled by your emotions. The rules change all the time.
So
go ahead, Dale.
Yes. Now, yeah, I need to get a word in now, Ed.
Between these two women talking.
Yes, but what I'll say right now is that in these last 6 years dealing with all of this stuff, by far the worst treatment that I've had were from women.
Yes.
And this is what it is. Because with the feminization of society, the feminized men are getting placed in positions of power. So they're looking at these men and they're like, I can compete with them. But when you have the masculine men that come in, there is no possible way for them to compete. So what do? They band together and they do all of the shade to stab you in the back. Women are by far the most treacherous because they can't come at you head to head the way that a man can be like, okay, let's throw down and fight. Women can't do that. So they have to go in this treacherous manner. And they will do the most ruthless, ridiculous things because they're looking at what makes them feel good in the moment and they're throwing away the long term. How many women I've told don't do these things because you're placing yourself into a bad situation and they don't care and they do it anyway. And then when the consequence comes, they go crazy and they try to do everything they can to avoid it. Where men, when they see this, they're like, not today, Satan. I'm not throwing my life away. Right?
Yeah. 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 And then they'll get mad at you if you like dare point out, well, you know, I warned you. It's like, don't you dare bring up that you told me this would happen. But yeah, women, oh man, I had something and I lost it.
Let's just pull up this next clip on the gender wars. Helen talks about the gender wars.
Jordan Peterson a lot. I think he's a very wise person. But to be honest, this sort of mythology of gender differences was never something that interested me. It was never a topic that I ever anticipated I would be writing about. It's just not my cup of tea. Because it seems like a kind of debate that goes in circles and has gone in circles for centuries. There have been battles between the male and the female since the dawn of time. Since before the dawn of time. The primates, there are battles between men and women. It's definitely a topic of debate that has been returned to and recycled over the centuries. The reason why this feminization thesis kind of sparked my interest in a way that gender dynamics in general never really did is that it is something unprecedented. It is that miraculous thing, something in the gender wars that is truly new. We have never, no civilization on the planet has ever had a situation where they can look forward to a day when a majority of judges are going to be female. Or they can anticipate a day not too long from now when the majority of legislators in their parliament are going to be female, when they have female police chiefs in their largest cities, or the legal profession in general is on its way to being majority female. That is something unprecedented. So it's really not that surprising and shouldn't really be that controversial to say that something no civilization in human history has ever faced is posing new problems that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. This whole idea, feminism is the worst thing to happen to society because of what it's done. And because women are the ones who raise children, they're the ones who are feminizing their sons based on what they're doing. And then they hand them off to the school system and prepare them to be indoctrinated. Because men and women are different. And they're different for a necessary reason. If we were not, we would not exist, right? Men and women have to be different. Women are very great at being women, but they're terrible at being men. Men are great at being men, and they're terrible at being women. We need to work together, but this whole idea that women and men have to stand on the same podium, having a family is slavery, that you can't have success unless you're like a man. Well, I'm in my 50s. My daughter is not in her 20s. There is no way that she can even keep up with me on the way that I work and the way that I go, right? Speaking of this, I'm go ahead. I'll pull up a clip. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, like honestly, nothing makes me more exhausted than trying to do like the work of a man. I am constantly tired. I'm sick of it. I literally just want to get married and have a family. I can't like I feel like I'm going insane in some way, like trying to constantly do things that are not natural to the female mind or body. Like this is the most evil thing I think you can actually do to like society, like in women. One of the most evil things, trying to make them believe that we belong in an area where we're supposed to compete with men and constantly be surrounded by men doing the work of men. It's like, why is it not normal for me to be like, you know what, I want to get married, I want to listen to a man, I want my boss to be my husband, I want to wake up and him tell me what to do every day, and then us have kids and like have a cohesive network within ourselves. You know how you said like things are always changing, the rules are always changing, and you never know like when it's a woman in charge? That's what society feels like right now, and that's what it feels like when you're a woman in the workplace or like in anything to do with men in general. It feels like the rules are always changing, you never know what to do because you can't mitigate the risk of all the danger that's coming at you from all the different angles. And then when things finally start to implode, or like just mines are going off everywhere, you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, what the actual hell? And then you're like, what am I going to do about this? I don't know, because I didn't calculate for this. So I don't know. You're just like, I wish I was just in the country somewhere, just with some kids and a husband, minding my own business in some hole where no one would ever see me ever again. So yeah, that's what I feel.
Well, I mean, and so another reason that men are more feminized now is because with women going into the workforce, kids are starting like preschool. They're starting really, really young. And those schools, like I raised all boys, schools are not designed for boys. Schools don't like boys. Schools like girls. Girls sit, they do their work, they're quiet, they're very obedient, and boys just want to break stuff and jump around. And so that's stifled from the moment they're out there. So when women are in the workforce, their kids are just being, the boys are just being pummeled. The girls are becoming bullies. They're learning from a very young age to become bullies because they're told that the boys are their enemies and that men are their enemies. I mean, look, like how many of these dumb freaking broads chose the bear over the man? I'm like, I mean, I've I've gotten out of some situations with men. Like men are stronger. There's no doubt. But I've gotten out of some situations with men. I'm not getting out of a situation with a bear. Okay, I mean, gosh,
Literally, like,
that's not happening.
I was a substitute teacher a little bit in the US, and the teachers actually promote the girls antagonizing the boys. When the boys retaliate because they're young, they're going to push back, they're going to hit, they're going to get frustrated, they're pent up energy, they're going to hit them back, and then the girls get upset. The teachers punish the boys, and then the boys are sitting there writing like letters of like despair, literal letters of despair, like, what have I done to make you hate me, and all these things. Like, I'm like, this is a little boy, like, understanding circumstances at like age of grade 2 or grade 3,
It's
like in ways that this girl
horrible.
can't even comprehend. Yes, and
Yeah.
they're just sitting there like ruminating in turmoil, like, why am I being punished? And it's funny what you said about the bear, because the Bible actually says it's better for a man to be with a bear who just lost her cubs than with a contentious woman. So it's funny how it's actually the reverse.
I right before we go to the next clip, I just wanted to. Somebody was on Rumble was saying that you're well said for what you're saying, Nikki. So everybody, go ahead, sign up at the
Oh,
Cali
how do I
corner.
see the chat? Is there a way
You,
to see the chat? Oh, I have
no,
to be on Rumble, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
that go and sign up for the channel Cali Corner. This is where her show is going to be. So whenever you want to see it, check it out there. I'm just going to play this clip and I'm going to play another one after that. But this one here is about blue collar men, and I was a heavy duty mechanic, so I fully relate to what this woman is saying. Just listen.
Blue collar men will look you dead in the face and say they're totally fine while their knee hasn't worked correctly since 2014 and they haven't had a full night's sleep in years. They don't measure pain on a scale of 1 to 10. They measure pain on a scale of, can I still go to work? And if the answer is yes, then medically they're invincible. Something in their body stops working. They're like, okay, well, I guess this is a part of me now. And they're always like, it could be worse. Like, that's their coping mechanism. The phrase could be worse is blue collar Prozac. And blue collar men do not sleep. They black out briefly. And they're proud of it. This becomes part of their personality. Neglect with a side of confidence. But you know what? They show up every day. Limping, half asleep, held together by duct tape, ibuprofen, and pure spite. And when you ask them how they're doing, the answer is always fine. Not good, not great, it's just fine. Which in blue collar language means everything hurts, I'm exhausted, and I will not be talking about it. Blue collar men will look you dead in the face and say they're
That's true. Like, my daughter will be like, I'm sick. I'm like, I don't got time to be sick.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I have a lot of respect for my ex-husband is a blue collar man, and he went out there and he made sure I was able to stay home and raise the kids. I was a stay-at-home mom for all 3 of my boys. And I mean, come hell or high water, I would have been a stay-at-home mom, because I was just telling my boyfriend yesterday, in my runaway days, every single person out there, every single one who was on the streets was sexually assaulted when they were kids. I'm like, I'm not trusting anyone. I trusted my sister, and that was it. Or my brother, but my brother worked, so my sister and I took turns, we would have all the kids while the other one did whatever, but I wouldn't, there's I just go off on tangents, don't I? Anyway, my ex-husband, yes, he's a very hard worker, and thank goodness my boys have very good work ethics, thanks to seeing that. And yeah, they do. One of the reasons men don't answer when women ask how they're doing is, sadly, more often than not, women probably don't want to hear how the men are doing.
No, they don't. They don't. When you say something, it's like a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Because if you tell them the truth, they're like, oh, wow. And you're just
I'm
like,
gonna go get my nails done.
I just want to bring up this clip before we take a break here. To when you talked about the feminization of school, this woman, she says some things here, so let's just pull that back up.
So instead, we feminize boys by making them sit like little girls in circle time. And even little girls can't sit in circle time. Little boys who are between 3 and 5 years old have surges of testosterone almost as much as in adolescence.
Wow.
And so they need to run and jump and push and explore, and they're not getting to do that. Instead, they're sitting quietly and they're going crazy. So basically what we're seeing is distractibility in a lot of these little boys is just stress, because what we're doing is by forcing a little boy who's meant to be running and jumping and playing physically and learning about the world physically to sit quietly in circle time, the frustration tolerance is not there. Right? So we're doing that to little boys and we're labeling them. And then if they can't sit in circle time, the school calls parents and says, your child has ADHD. We'd like to medicate your child.
Right.
So does that suit the schools? Of course it does. It suits the schools because they get a quiet little passive sedated boy.
And
100%. They tried to do that to my son. They tried to say he was ADHD. And I was like, you're not medicating my son.
No,
they put him on speed.
Yes, I have ADHD, and when I was a kid, they never said that anything about me that in school because they let us run. We were doing our stuff and all kinds of stuff, but I knew I had it because I was distracted like crazy. Like I knew things, and then I would make some mistakes because I was so like on the go, right? I knew that was an issue, but it wasn't me. They didn't ever medicate me in school. I realized that when I was older, and it was like things started to go sideways, and you're just like, wait a second, it's getting worse. So I went and dealt with it. But it was when I was a kid, I was fine. They didn't drug me. They just
a smart society would channel boys and girls in the directions that they should go. Boys should be the first half of school should be physical stuff. Put a rock climbing wall. Have them doing obstacle courses, get all that energy out. And then they have lunch, and then they come in and they can do the reading and they can do the writing when they've gotten all that energy out. And they should be learning some kind of a trade. Boys and girls, when they graduate from high school, they should have the capability to walk in on a job and know what they're doing. And they don't have to stick to they don't have to pick a career for life, but just something that they could do when they graduated. So, because people are graduating high school these days and they're not equipped to do anything. But boys should be, they should not be sitting in a classroom all day the way girls do. It should be different for boys and teach them how to be protectors. Because that's what boys are. That's what men are.
Most people, I agree, and most kids would learn a trade if their mothers were stay-at-home mothers. Like what you're talking about, actually, mothers used to teach kids how to knit, crochet, sew, embroider, cook, clean. My grandmother, she taught me all of those things. All of the traditional things that a Proverbs 31 woman is supposed to learn. School is actually not there to teach you it. Your home is there to teach you it, but because the mothers are no longer there to do that job, they actually can't do it, and which makes it harder for the boys to get the attention that they need when they go out into places to get the teaching that they need to be actual men. Because if women were not in the spaces at all where men were, then this would never be an issue. It would never even be a second thought. Like, that's really what a big portion of the problem is. Women in places where they're not supposed to be, taking the jobs and position from men to do the work of men, to lead those other men, and the women are leading people into destruction and chaos because the rules change with their feelings. And then women don't know how to be women because their mothers aren't home. Men don't know how to be men, and everything is completely corrupted. By the time they finish school, women, it should be very normal for a woman to be going through school being like, okay, well, you know what? I really can't wait to become an adult and have a family and find a man who will love and protect and care for me, and that I can work together with him as a wife, a helpmeet, and have that family and have that God-centered life. Whereas a man should be like, you know what? I can't wait to become an adult and actually go out and work and do this trade, and this is what I want to do, and this is the kind of family I want to acquire, and this is how I'm going to do it. we don't even do that anymore, because now they're telling the girls, oh, well, you got to go be a boss, babe. Like, even in the church, the pastor of my church, their family, the daughters, they were like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. I was like, I want to have a family. They're like, oh, well, my kid's going to be a doctor. Well, good for your kid. I want to reproduce.
Yeah.
What you're going to say?
Well, not only that, but this is something that people really, really don't put enough value on, is a good home. And that's what I mean, the most successful, admirable woman in the world is a woman who can provide a good home. And that doesn't mean the way the feminists describe it, that you're a slave in the house for an ungrateful man. No. First off, if you're really good at it, the man should be grateful. And if the man's not grateful, then you picked lousy in the first place. So maybe pick better, I mean, I guess that's another story. But there's nothing more valuable and good for society than providing a good home. And when women are in the workforce, that's not happening. And then it's a cascading effect, because now the kids don't know what a good home looks like. And so why would they aspire to something they've never seen? And again, I think that's by design.
Yeah, we're gonna take a short break, because we're gonna split the segments, then and then we'll be back on the other side here. So yeah, I guess we'll just get to it. Just tell people where they can reach you, and then for anybody who's
I'm on X and Facebook. So under my name, Nikki Moonitz, it's not hard to find me.
Yeah, so if you're watching on Rumble and Facebook and on
X, mostly X.
No. Vocal, you'll see the links in the description. And we'll be back just shortly after this break here. I will close this segment with a prayer, and then we'll be back on the other side in a few minutes. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you've given us this day. And Father, help the men and the women to come together to rebuild their families, their churches, their community, our nation, and that we can have some protection for the children is my prayer. And so let me just get this up, and we will be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned.
Hello friends, my name is Keisha and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. And I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Saskatchewan, moved into Alberta, and even crossed into the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems over the last 5 years that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father Dale Richardson, we started the Caris Project. This is an Indigenous, survivor-led movement for humanity dedicated to exposing trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. One of the most powerful tools that we are using is the petitions for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in Canadian and US law, and in treaties that tie us together across provinces, across states, and even across borders. These petitions are precedent-setting. They create a binding record. They demand accountability while representing reconciliation in action. Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working side by side to preserve liberty for all. But we cannot do this alone. We need your help to keep this movement alive, to raise awareness and to build a legacy of justice for Indigenous women, for trafficking survivors, and for families everywhere. Thank you. Please stand with us. Your support makes this work possible. Together we can restore justice, heal families, and defend freedom. And I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
What starts here changes the world. I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us, will apply equally to all. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. During SEAL training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat, and 1 coxswain to help guide the dinghy. Every day, your boat crew forms up on the beach and is instructed to get through the surf zone and paddle several miles down the coast. In the winter, the surf off San Diego can get to be 8 to 10 feet high, and it is exceedingly difficult to paddle through the plunging surf unless everyone digs in. Every paddle must be synchronized to the stroke count of the coxswain. Everyone must exert equal effort, or the boat will turn against the wave and be unceremoniously dumped back on the beach. For the boat to make it to its destination, everyone must paddle. You can't change the world alone. You will need some help. And to truly get from your starting point to your destination takes friends, colleagues, the goodwill of strangers, and a strong coxswain to guide you. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I like to play that because we are literally at war, and I listen to what this guy has to say than a lot of these influencers that you see coming online and so forth. And speaking of the feminization, a lot of these influencers that you see on the spaces, and even in government positions, they put some of the weakest men into those positions, and they will platform them, and they'll get the women looking at the weak men, and look at the whole Epstein situation. Now they're crying for men to help them, and what are these guys doing? They run around acting like women, right? Like, what are they doing? Nothing. And the men that need to be doing this stuff, they've all kicked them in the face because they taught that the men that are like them, those are the good men. But the men that will make them feel bad sometimes because they need to get things done, well, that's toxic masculinity. Well, if somebody's pulling you out and the building's burning down, you're not going to care about feelings. They need to get you out as quickly as you can. It might hurt you a bit, but it's better than being burned alive in the building, right? That's really it.
Yeah. But these people are so coddled that they don't know, they really don't picture themselves in the kind of situation, in life or death situations. That's why they're so eager to protect criminals. Everything is, I think people have a hard time understanding that things happen in the real world. They think everything's on their screen until it hits them.
Yes, I'm going to, speaking of this, I'm going to bring a clip up about some of the things that influencers are pushing. And this, like, I came across this and I said, we got to put this in. So this guy was listening to one of the guys here and their advice. And this is Myron Gaines he was talking to. But some of the things that he says are way off base. And men should not do this. And, like, women should not follow a lot of these influencers. But listen to what this guy had to say. So we'll just pull this up.
He is speaking facts.
A brave Christian just exposed this YouTuber and left all speechless.
I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
Congratulations, that's good. That's really good.
Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable, and they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat him?
And this is one of the things that I had a huge issue with, because going and running through a bunch of people, women, is not good. Men are wired for loyalty. We are loyal. We're loyal to our friends. We're loyal to our family. Now, if a man goes and sleeps with a bunch of people, he is no longer loyal. And if he's cheating on his woman, he's no longer loyal. How can he command loyalty with his actions when he's being disloyal himself? That can't happen. That's weakness. Doesn't mean just because.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that I'm discovering about the Bible, because I'm only just reading. I mean, anyway, I'm reading the Bible now. Right after Charlie Kirk was killed, I'm reading the Bible, and one of the things, I think the reason that its wisdom has lasted for, I mean, obviously way past 2,000 years, but the New Testament is 2,000 years, is it teaches us how to be happy. I mean, that's not the goal, but we're happy by reining in our animal instincts. Those influencers that are saying go sleep with a bunch of women and stuff, they're saying run with your animal instincts. Well, nobody's happy doing that. I know guys that sleep around. Not one of them's happy. I've never met a guy who sleeps around who's happy.
And like, when I sit back and people need to spend a lot of time at the beginning of the Bible, because God lays things out. And the men should be able to pick up on what God does because we speak by our actions. And so he lays out the order of things, and men was the protector because the life and death stuff. God said to Adam, he didn't say it to Eve. God, Adam told it to Eve because Eve wasn't around yet, and all these things. And he set him to go in and get the house prepared and everything before he made her. So men are supposed to be the ones that go in to create the critical infrastructure for their families, right? And all this kind of stuff. And then when I look at it, the first time they ever mentioned a man with two women, he was the guy he was one of the descendants of Cain, and he was more wicked than, right? And he said he killed a man. He probably killed the man to take his wife, right? Like, is that the example you want to follow, right?
There is, I have to say this is off track, but
Yeah.
I thought in the Bible a few weeks ago, I think it was Jacob who, he married Leah and he married Rachel, and I think it was Jacob, but it might have been someone else. But anyway, the wives kept giving him their handmaidens
Yes.
to have babies with
Yes.
him, so that and so he wound up like sleeping with 4 women because it was one wife and her handmaiden and the other wife and her handmaiden, and they kept going back and forth because they were competing for having. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, this is crazy.
She was like, give me a child, and he was like, am I God?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And actually, when Abraham went ahead and took the handmaiden, God rebuked him because then he's like, get rid of the woman and her son. And he's like, listen to your wife because you shouldn't have listened to her in the first place. Right? Because every time you see that, there's always problems. And this is why we weren't
Women
designed for
too.
that.
Women were told, sexual liberation, you'll be happy. Women aren't happy. Women need a connection. Sex isn't even physical for women unless they have a connection. It's like, I've met women who are like men in the sense that they see a guy they don't even know, want to have sex, and I can't wrap my brain around that because you have to win me over with your mind and like I've never looked at a guy and thought, ooh, I want him. Like that has never happened. I can't relate to that, but women aren't happy doing that. Men aren't happy doing that. It's what makes you happy is channeling everything that's best about you into. It's like what's that? I don't know if it's a proverb or what, but you need to plant a tree under which shade you won't even be sitting because you're focusing on building something that's going to be around a long time after you're gone, and you want it to be solid, and you want it to really, branch off and create more solid trees. I'm butchering it, but you get more satisfaction and reward out of delayed gratification, out of doing what's right. And, someone told me once, easy choices now, hard life later, hard choices now, easy life later. And that really stuck with me. Sacrifice a little bit right now and do the hard work. And, I want to coast in my old age. I'm okay doing the hard stuff while I'm young. Not that I'm young anymore, but I don't want a lot of hard stuff when I'm old.
No, for real. I definitely agree with you. I'm the same way. Like I've never been the kind of person who was like visually stimulated by people. I always had to be like mentally. So it's like I would look at people and I could acknowledge you might be objectively attractive, but you might be a retard, and that's not any benefit to me. Like you might like it might no seriously, because like, and I posted about this last night because I was thinking about it, and I was like, what a truly harrowing experience it is that most women today can't look across from them or look at the man that they love or care for and understand that that person is a genuine person to them, that person can look at them and be like, I know you, we know each other. And like that is such a rare and special thing. That's the only way that you can captivate a woman's mind. And it's like women today, they're so focused on the money, 6-pack, 6 figures, 6 inches, 6 feet, or whatever, which, you know, is not going to get them anywhere because they're not at all, they can't connect with that guy. They're literally, so they can always be on to the next,
Yeah.
because they only
Yeah.
captivate the pockets. But if you captivate a woman's mind, it doesn't matter what anyone has. She'll never go anywhere else because she's like, where am I going to find that special connection with this person again? And it's like, even if you do find it, it takes an exceptionally long time to find and then to build and like to captivate, like to actually like
Yeah.
create.
And then you
So
have to
I
nurture
completely
it.
agree.
You have to keep it up. People don't
Yes.
understand. Like you have to always be discovering who you're with, no matter how long you're together. You can't just, as soon as you start thinking you know everything about them, you stop seeing them. And that's when things go astray, because you stop seeing each other. And I don't mean like going out with each other. I mean, you may live together. If you stop noticing each other and they become part of the furniture, that's when things go bad. You
Yeah.
can't ever let it get to that.
Well, and women have to understand this about men as well. Men, okay, deception is not loyalty, and men interpret deception badly. So if a woman goes in and, for example, uses her body to get the man, gets the man in there, he's going to resent you, because if you're of a terrible character, he's going to resent you, and it's going to cause problems because a man is going to act out. You see, for me, when I sit down and I talk to a woman, I have to sit down. I don't care. Like, obviously, you have to have some reasonable attraction. But I think about, what am I going to talk to this woman over dinner for the rest of my life? If I feel like punching myself in the face, the answer is going to be no. I don't care what
Yeah.
you look like, right? Because you have to have some kind of mental connection with that person, because if you feel like you're talking to a plant, right? Because you don't have conversation, that you're not going to go anywhere. So you have to be able to have that connection with the person.
I've been with my guy for 16 years, and we can talk and talk and talk, and we don't run out of things to talk about. I mean, we can also, we both work at home, and we could sit all day and not say a word, but not out of anger, but because we're both focusing on whatever. But we're not out of things to talk about. We have very stimulating conversations all the time.
That is like the most beautiful thing, because like I said,
Yeah.
you need to be able to be like, I know this person, but I want to continue to know them for the rest of my life, and also that this person is a very safe space. Like, and I think that a lot of like the red pill and the men are promoting right now, like how Myron said, oh, go sleep with all these women, but to go and sleep with those women, I feel like that's where a lot of women are. There's the confusion of consent, because when someone is a safe place to you, you're mentally, emotionally, intimately, physically safe. You've built that connection where you trust that person. And the more pure and innocent that connection is, the more you actually want to engage with that person intimately on a physical level. But these men are going and saying, skip all of the work to actually bond with this woman in the way that God created her to bond, and just try to sleep with her. You might get her in the moment, and then later she's like, wait a minute, I didn't like the way that was set up, because then they had time to reflect, and then they realize, oh, and that's how men get themselves in problems. And this is how a lot of men are getting themselves into issues. So I think that's why it should be completely avoided, like what Myron is saying, because like the guy said, it set him up for failure in a lot of ways. Not that that was his specific situation, but you get the point. You need to actually build something concrete with someone where you can trust them, they're your safe space, and that you genuinely feel like that's a genuine person. You know them, and you want to continue to know them forever, like what you were experiencing.
Yeah, and what do the women think anyway? I'm sorry, but isn't it known that the more you like a guy, the more they have to work for you? If a girl just puts out right away, the guy isn't going to consider her of any value. I mean,
No.
this is such common sense. I don't understand how every girl doesn't instinctively understand this.
They don't, and they're told something completely different, because men value what they work for, and if you come there and just give it up, the man is not going to respect you inherently, because he didn't have to work to get anything, right? And And you want him to lay down this foundation. And one thing that what women don't understand what men do, and the feminization of men have done this, like beat this out of men badly. The reason why a man should never have sex with a woman when he's getting to know her is because he needs to see what he can do for her. Because this is what fathers do for their children, and the men do this for the women they're with. Men are very good at seeing the potential and what it will come to later down the road. We're designed to see this. This is how we protect. And then we draw out the best of them. So the man has to look at the woman and say, can I help her become who she needs to be? Because women are so the biggest underachievers because they can't realize their potential. They can't. Not the way that men see them, and they wonder what these women are doing because they're like, you can do so much more, but women don't have that. It's like they don't see it. I see this happen.
It's because they're in the wrong place. It's because they're in the man's arena. If women were focusing on building a good home and raising their kids and stuff, they would start to see their potential, but their eyes are pointed the wrong direction.
Yes, but even when a woman's in this situation, men is like the father is like the Wayne Gretzky of the family. He makes everybody around him better because he helps to see what they need and he gives it to them. This is what we do. And we're designed to do that so we can go out and like work ourselves into the grave if have to help our families. Men need to see if he can help that woman at that point in time because you have to have that right match. For example, if a woman is significantly more intelligent than the man she's dealing with, he's going to have a very hard time because they're going to want to have certain things and have certain needs met, and they're going to get frustrated in the other way. Or if the woman is, for example, damaged, does he have the patience and the strength to help her get through this? Because if he can't, then he should just walk away and allow someone else who is more suited to that to do that. And then we'd have less problems when we would have those, like having the right people being matched together. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's getting. I want to bring this up because about the feminists, and this guy talks about there's no happy feminist. So we'll just listen to what he has to say.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever met a happy feminist? Yeah, me neither, because they don't exist. Feminism sold itself as empowering women, but the reality, it didn't empower anybody. It recruited women. It enlisted them. It turned them into political chess pieces in a game so big they don't even know what board they're on. You want to know what the real purpose of feminism is? Read End of Woman by Carrie Gress. She lays it out plain. Feminism is not about elevating women. It's about erasing femininity. It's about erasing masculinity. It's about blowing up the traditional family and leaving a power vacuum big enough for the elites to drive a tank through. And here's the tragic part. The women caught up in all of this didn't sign up to be miserable. They signed up thinking they were joining a movement that had purpose and meaning. But what they traded away were the very things in this life that give us meaning. Family, connection, partnership, motherhood, feminine strength, and masculine support. They traded all of that for an ideology that promised empowerment, but delivered resentment instead. So let me tell you a story. I'm up at my buddy's ranch, getting ready to take down a bison. He's got 600 head of them, and he tells me something wild. He keeps the male bison out of the main herd. Why? Because with males in the herd, the rancher can't control them. When the bulls are present, the herd protects each other. They're strong, they're united, and they're impossible to manipulate. But remove the males, and suddenly the whole herd is easy to steer, easy to break, easy to dominate, easy to shuffle off to the slaughterhouse. Does that sound familiar? Feminism did the same damn thing. It pulled the men out of the herd. It turned the sexes against each other. It neutered men, overwhelmed women, and divided the unity that should be the strongest force on earth. The masculine and the feminine working together. Because let me tell you a truth. When men and women work together, are united and aligned, synced up in partnership and purpose, that's the nucleus of every civilization that has ever thrived. But destroy that union and you cripple the nation and you weaken the next generation. And feminism, it has been incredibly effective at that. So what's the solution? It's time to stop the blame game. Stop the battle of the sexes. Stop the men versus woman nonsense being pushed by the elites who laugh while we tear each other apart. We are under attack, not as men, not as women, but as a human family. And the only way we win is together, masculine and feminine, side by side, refusing to be divided by movements designed to keep us weak. A happy feminist? No, not real. But strong women and strong men united? That's as real as it gets. And that's the only thing the elites are afraid of.
I just want to add before he comes, because what he said I agree with. In the Bible, and a lot of people read this and they didn't get it. God made Adam and then when he married them, he stopped his work of creation, because the man and the woman was married, and the image of God was complete. Adam by him.
You're breaking up.
I said when the man and the woman were married, God finished his work of creation, then the image of God was complete. So you needed both the man and the woman together to get the complete image of God. And this is why men and women, when they come together, they accomplish more together than they can ever separately. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts in a way that we can't even many times articulate in words. And this is why they keep us apart. It's divide and conquer. Feminism was used as a mechanism for divide and conquer, to destroy us.
Yeah, for people who worship the state, for people who want an all-powerful government, because family is the biggest deterrent to an authoritarian government, because people are going to be loyal to their family. They're going to protect their family. But if you remove that, they're going, then they're tribal. Everyone looks for something to worship. If they're not worshiping God, and if they're not focusing on their family, they're worshiping the state. And then if you don't worship God and you worship the state, I used to think that you didn't need religion to be good. I grew up without religion, but I have a natural sense of what's right and what's wrong. Now I see people who, celebrate abortion. They act like they're not killing a child when they do abortion. They celebrate castrating and chopping off body parts of kids. And I realize as a society, you absolutely need religion, because otherwise they don't understand good or bad. They think they're good, but what they do is they just look at who they think they're helping, or who they want to delude themselves that they're helping, and they completely ignore the victims. Like 100%. It's like when you talk to pro-choice people, they just rule the baby right out of the equation. That's not even a baby. That's a clump of cells. It's like, well, you're a clump of cells. What's the difference? It's a human from conception, but they don't, if you get rid of God and then you worship the state, there's nothing you can't convince people to do. And it was bad enough last century with Stalin and Mao and Hitler, but now you have this, which is the biggest brainwashing tool, the most effective brainwashing tool. If I can't even imagine what we're going to go through before we get to the other side. I think God wins always, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get really dark before it gets better. And I just can't imagine. Like I see it. Sorry, when I very first started paying attention, I saw it coming, and my dad laughed. He goes, "Oh, we thought that in the 60s, everything would be fine." And I thought, okay, I'm new to paying attention. Maybe he's right. But everything I saw back then is coming to fruition. And now it's like majorly ramping up. Now you've got kids out on the street throwing rocks at cars as they go by, egged on by teachers and politicians. And I'm like, we're in buckle up mode now, because things are about to get really crazy.
Oh yes. And they're ramping up for, if you think the Summer of Love was bad, that's going to be,
that's a picnic.
That's going to be child's play. Just wanted to say here, somebody was saying that this is a great discussion and that everybody should join on Rumble. Always have great discussions with Nikki. Speaking of what the ultimate goal is with feminism, because when you take the man out, you have to replace him with something. And we'll listen to what this woman has to say here.
You don't like capitalism, what system would you prefer to see?
I guess by definition, it sounds very radical of me, and I do consider myself to be a radical feminist, but I guess communism, the very simplistic definition that I have of communism, the utopian society that I envision would be a communist society. And that is because we would have like a trade and barter system, so I could provide, what I'm good at providing, what I enjoy to provide, you could provide to our, to our shared society.
A stateless society?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
so,
I think that it would be very complicated to go from where we are right now.
So I can end this argument very quickly for you. Inside of your stateless society, you would have to have an enforcement arm, like police officers or something like this, to deal with criminals, right? Mm-hmm. How could you enforce a hierarchy inside of your society without appealing to a hierarchy to do it?
In my stateless society, the norms would be to commit ethical decisions.
What if somebody violates those?
Yeah, then what?
Then you have enforcement to take care of that, right?
Because people will inevitably violate.
Yeah.
So if people will violate the norms of that society and you have to appeal to enforcement, that is a hierarchy.
I mean, if he wasn't so obtuse in the way that he would talk to people, he actually makes some of those points he makes a lot of sense, because you can't get to where these people want to go without men. Like, I mean, it's just the way it is.
And did you see her face?
But
it didn't even occur to her. What he was saying didn't even occur to her.
What's messed up is most of the things that she's explaining she would have if she got married. Like, a man could do those things for her.
Yeah.
Like what women are... Like, women would rather have and what's funny, it's because it's like the women don't want to submit to a man and be a wife. They want to have a husband without the actual responsibility of being a wife, which is funny because then they make every other man in society do the role of a husband for them, making them slaves without giving anything in return. That's what they mean by communism, where they're like, I can, like a barter, I can give what I want, and then... But that's not what it is, because they're making all the men do the work and they're taking all the credit and giving nothing in return. It's slavery. And if she really wanted what she said she would just get married.
I don't think she put two thoughts into what she was saying.
No, she didn't. I just wanted to say something about this whole issue of submission, because people say it's a bad word. Most people don't actually understand what it actually was supposed to mean. Submission doesn't mean that you're a slave. It doesn't mean that somebody controls your thoughts. It means that you're submitting to the man's love and protection. That's what it means, because you can't protect yourself from those bad men, but he can, and he's willing to do that. So you're going to have to give up some control so that he can protect you, because you can't just go and walk into the minefield and expect him to protect you from the mines, right? You have to listen and say, okay, don't go there because that's a den of rapists, so stay out of that place. So he's saying that to protect you, not because he wants to control you, but he values and loves you. He doesn't want somebody to violate you, because then he's going to have to go and kill them. Right?
Yeah. Well, to me, submission just means the roles, the masculine role and the feminine role. So you're submitting to his role as the head of the household. He has the final say in the bank account, but he's also the one who's earning the money and providing. And usually the woman kind of has the final say in the home stuff, and like providing a really good home for a really good family. And so I've never looked at it as, for one thing, women are under an illusion if they think one way or another they wouldn't have to submit, because the only reason women have all these rights is because men are allowing it, because contrary to the current narrative, men are stronger than women, period. That's why women used to be property. Women used to be bartered like in war and stuff. I mean, even royalty, alliances were made by marrying your daughter off to some other prince. I mean, women were always property, and it's only now women aren't. That's because men made it that way. for them. So you can submit to someone who loves you and is the father of your kids and is going to provide a really good home, or you can submit to the state that couldn't care less about you. Either way,
like honestly,
so it should be a partnership.
Go ahead.
That's what it is, a partnership.
Yes. Honestly, I want to belong to someone. I want someone to look at me and be like, she belongs to me. Stay away from her or I will end you. Like, why are we wanting the state and every random man on the street? Like, what you said is correct. Either you're going to submit to a man or you're going to submit to someone else. And with a woman, if she doesn't have protection in society, she's cooked. Somebody is going to, what do you, your thing is on? Somebody is going to end up doing it. So you have a choice to make as a female. You have to submit to something somehow. And it doesn't mean that the guy's going to walk all over you, badge you up, all kind of ways. He's there to love and protect you. You take care of the things that belong to you. That's literally like, I don't know why we see that as a bad thing. Like, I don't know why we see that as some sort of like slight or abuse, because it's like
because
when
the feminist movement made women ashamed to be women, is what it did. It everything that's our superpower. I mean, we carry life and we feed life with our body. And I just read something the other day about breast milk that's pretty amazing, that there's receptors in the nipple that pick up if the baby is deficient in calcium or needs certain things, and then our body pulls that and puts it in the milk to give to the baby. That's pretty freaking amazing. What our body can do as women is incredible. And the feminist movement like made women ashamed of all of that. And like it was demeaning to do that.
Well,
it's insane.
What they don't, no, like for one, in the way they describe in the Bible, he said like a man and a woman should become one flesh, and the way that a man should treat a woman is, has a man ever hated his own flesh? Well, then he's supposed to treat the wife like himself, because they're together like a unit. And then on top of this, the woman brings something to a man. And I remember one of my bosses, he goes, you have a kid, I hire you, but I would only hire married men, but you have a responsibility with a kid, so I hired you. Because men that have women that they're married to and have to look after, they're fundamentally very different. Family men are very different than men that don't have family.
You can rely on family men more. You can rely on them.
Yes, and someone actually put in the comments, the man belongs to the woman belongs to the man. And that's true. Paul says that in the Bible when he's talking to the people of Corinth and Corinthians, saying that a man's body is not his own, he belongs to the wife, and the wife's body is not also her own, it belongs to the husband. So it's like, you do belong to each other. If you love somebody and you have that partner in life that you're doing life with, you belong to each other. You have to take care of each other like it's yourself. Like my dad said, you are one flesh with that person. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to take care of something that belongs to you. You're going to cherish it and esteem it and respect it and be loyal to it and love it. It's like, now you want to be with somebody, but you don't belong to them. You don't want them to protect you, but you want them to protect you. But only when, like how you said earlier with the feminism, the feelings come and go, the rules change all the time. It's whatever she feels like when she feels like, and she doesn't even realize the sick and twisted nature that she's adding to the dynamics of the relationship, because she's denying what it means to actually be a woman, like, and enjoying that. She's
and so then when these women
as a female,
right, and so then when these women are in their 70s, they're going to be out on the streets fighting to protect illegal aliens because they don't have anybody to pour their nurturing into. That's what happens. Nobody's going to fight to protect you more than your significant other, than the person who loves you.
It's either you're going to submit to the husband that will love you and die for you, or the state who don't give a damn about you.
And you can't, and he can't protect you. He cannot protect you unless you surrender yourself to him, actually submit that control to him. Because when he says to you,
when he says to you that, hey, this is dangerous. I care about you. I don't want you to go out looking like this or doing this, because I know how men are, and men in society shouldn't be this way, but you can't trust those men. You can only trust me, and I'm going to get myself into trouble if you go out and do this, because now I have to come and defend you in all kind of ways when you're acting mad and crazy. It's like, that's fine, I'll defend you, but you're going to make life very difficult for both of us and put us both in a compromising position. The only way for a man to actually protect the people he cares about is for them to trust him enough to surrender and submit to him, which
Yeah.
is crazy that women even think that's a problem in today's society. Because if you go to a job, you have to submit to your boss. That's why you think he's hot. It's why you're sleeping with him. When you go to the military, you have to submit to the head in your military. When you're in a government position, police, whatever sector of society, even when you're married to the state, like taking money from the state because you're single, you want to be big man on the block by
They
yourself,
own you.
you're still submitting to the state. They own you, exactly. And like
Yep.
Nikki said, you're going out doing all the things in the street that they're asking you to do and protest for, because if you don't do those things, you won't keep getting the state's check. So you gotta submit to somebody as a woman, because in this life you can either marry Thomas Shelby, or you can marry the man who works for Thomas Shelby, but you will never be Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders.
I love Peaky Blinders, by the way. I love Peaky Blinders. Oh my gosh. I need to watch it again now.
I'm gonna pull up a quote. I'm gonna pull up a clip here. This woman, she's talking about her thoughts on feminism.
Feminism sold us the biggest scam of our generation. They told us we were empowered, but what did we actually get? Burnout, debt, stress, a double life where we work like men and still carry the entire home on our backs. And here's the truth nobody's talking about. Feminism didn't set women free. It trapped us in a masculine system that we were never designed for. They told us to compete with men, to lead like men, to talk, think, act like men, and now we're exhausted, we're disconnected, resentful, and wondering why nothing feels right. We don't need more feminism. We need to reclaim the femininity that was stolen from us, because that's where a woman's real power has always been. In softness, in harmony, emotional intelligence, intuition, influence, not in becoming a copy of the men we were created to complement. If you want to break free from this conditioning and learn how to step back into your feminine design, the design that brings peace, love, protection, and real freedom, that's exactly what I teach inside the Feminine Reset. Click the link in my bio for access.
The one thing I want to say is that this made it very clear with all this stuff melting down with the trad influencers and so forth. Women, when they start to compete with men in situations, they start taking their clothes off and they start using their vaginas to get ahead. This is what happens because they're not designed to compete with each other. Women should be competing with women on women things, and men should be competing with men on men things. This is where you get the problems because they're not going to be able to out-strategize a bunch of men in male areas where they need to use male strategy to beat each other. You just can't. A man's not going to walk into a woman's area and try to outperform women at being women. He doesn't understand it. It doesn't make sense to him, right? So men are just smart enough to know not to go there. They're like, we'll let you do your thing because we suck. Well, and you get the deranged guys that think that they're women, but you get the point, right? Like, no. And this is what you see happening all the time. This is why women are they're literally selling themselves to try to get ahead to be that man. It's like, no, you don't need to be that. They're lying to you. Be a woman.
Yeah.
Be a very good woman.
Yeah, but I think part of the feminist movement was they just wanted an excuse to hate men, honestly. And they would have to let go of hating men to tap in on their full potential because, like you say, men and women complement each other. So, because again, I saw that since I was little in the 70s, those songs, all those feminist songs, you know, and I even when I was little, I was like, why are they all hating on men? I don't get it. I like men. I mean, it's like, I always had sympathy, like on the playground, I was like, I'm so glad I'm not a boy because they have to face rejection. They have to go up and ask a girl out and, you know, maybe the girl's going to laugh at him or be mean. And I was like, oh man, girls don't ever have to do that. I mean, there are girls who do that, but you don't have to. Smart girls know how to be pursued, but so I've just always felt bad for boys, and it's been going on at least since the 70s, which is just when I was old enough to notice it. And it's there always has to be an enemy, always. And it's been my entire life, men have been the enemy, always. And that's, again, because men are the protectors.
I'll tell you what it is. And Elizabeth Cady Stanton makes this very clear when she talks about the things that were. She said that Christianity and the Bible are the biggest obstacles to the women's political and economic and social power. So, in order to get rid of that, they had to go after Christianity. And then I looked at Gerda Lerner's creation of the patriarchy, and she creates a complete straw man argument about what the Bible actually says and then attacks it. And so the patriarchy that God lays out isn't what she lays out. What God condemns is literally what she says is the patriarchy, then blames it on God, and then uses men because God made men the protector and said, okay, you have to look after your family, and says that if you don't, too bad for you, because I ain't going to bless you if you're not going to look after your family, and that if you have to, give your life for your family. But they wanted to do something different, so they created something and lied about it. And she ties the female liberation to the sexual liberation of the fertility goddess. And that's like straight up look at Jezebel. Like the most
Well,
sick,
and the birth
deranged
control
stuff.
pill.
Yes.
The pill was the first thing that really removed accountability from your actions. If it weren't, I think that really shifted our mindset. And then that also contributed to feminizing men, because the estrogen it messes with the women who take it, and it stays in their system. And then when they have boys, it's passed down to them in abnormal ratios, or I'm butchering the science, but it's affecting. I mean, everything that removes accountability from our actions takes us the wrong direction.
100%.
I mean, we could try to be wise in utilizing it, but we don't. We never do.
That's one of the worst things that you can do to a child, is take away their consequences. It is better to be over discipline your child than to not discipline them at all, because with too much discipline, you just know, okay, I've got to scale it back so to fix it. But you have boundaries. But when you don't give them any discipline, you have no boundaries. So when you take away all of these consequences from these women, they're not. How are they going to form boundaries? They're like, there's no consequence for them.
Yeah, and those boundaries are there for a reason. When I raised my kids, it was never about punishment. I was teaching them, the reason you do this is because if you don't, this is what happens, And so if they wouldn't clean their room, I would say, okay, well, if it's not cleaned by tomorrow, I'm going in with a bag and everything on the floor is gone, throwing it away, because that's what happens with messy rooms, And so it when you teach them that it's just cause and effect, they learn better. My boys would say something, and if they said it grammatically incorrect, I wouldn't correct them. I would pretend like I didn't understand them and say it back to them as a question the correct way. And then they figured out, oh, okay, I have to say it this way for her to understand me. And every kid wants to be understood. And so then they fix it. But if you don't teach them that there's a consequence to their actions, then that trickles into adulthood.
But when you're giving them consequences and teaching them these things, they're learning how to think, right? And you're teaching them proper thinking. We're designed to have both aspects of parenthood, and for dealing with the outside world, we need the men. We need them to help create the places for the women to operate, so that people don't come in and do filth to them. And this is what we're seeing. I just want to bring up one final clip here before we go. This is again uh, oh gosh, I'm drawing Helen
Helen?
Yes, I want to bring up a clip that she said.
I can't remember her last name.
Andrews.
Helen Andrews.
Yes.
My real response is that there are definitely masculine modes of failure as well. So it is very possible for institutions to fail in distinctively masculine ways that they would not have failed if there had been more ladies in the room. But when I look at the world around me today, I don't see a lot of institutions failing in that way. I do see a lot of institutions failing in distinctly feminine ways.
And would you say particularly a good example of this might be something like Disney, for instance, where they you produce content that, shall we say, is hyper-liberal, progressive, woke, whatever way you want to describe it. No one wants to watch it, and everybody's like, why is there a trans person in my Star Wars movie?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have sort of masculine coded stories of adventure and things like that.
Because to me, the thing that I found surprising as somebody who loves movies, loves series, not particularly a huge Star Wars fan, what I couldn't understand is, again and again, why are you producing content that the hardcore of your fan base won't like? That to me seems like glorified economic financial suicide.
I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I have heard that I have heard that feedback from people I know who do love Star Wars. It's a boy franchise. Why are you making a girl movie in your boy franchise? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. So it isn't just Star Wars, but I guess the thing that I kind of wanted to drill down upon is we've talked about the peak of woke. Do you think that we've now coming to the end of it, or do you think that it will always remain there latent because of this feminization process that you've described?
Yeah, I'm worried that it will still be there. That it's only a matter of time before somebody whips up another moral outrage that we all have to be hysterical about. Because the way that we neutralize those kinds of mass hysteria episodes is by talking about them rationally. And if we don't do that anymore, then we're not going to be able to neutralize them.
But it's also as well, and Constantine touched on it with his argument with the podcast scene, which is basically people respond to incentives. Social media also rewards people who make histrionic, overblown, ridiculous arguments because they create the most engagement.
Yeah. And I'm worried about that. And I think there are things we can do in the meantime, right? Like I think universities today are very feminized. I think that is maybe a long-term threat to their viability as institutions of the pursuit of truth. But we're not going to turn that ship around in the next 5 years. So what can we do in the immediate future? I think interim steps are always a good idea. You can have statements of academic freedom. I think definitely schools should try and put those in place now so that the next time wokeness rolls around, we have tools in place to shut it down. But I think that as long as institutions remain feminized, you're still going to have the threat will still be there.
And your treatment plan would be to end affirmative action and retain the idea that we shouldn't discriminate against people, but assess that on the basis of whether someone's actually been discriminated against, as opposed to the number of women you have at your company.
That's right. Although in some cases that might not be sufficient medicine. I think one of the most compelling pieces of evidence to me that the great feminization is not entirely natural. It's not just a product of women have now had a chance to compete, and it turns out they're better at everything. It's not just a natural result of women out-competing men, which is something that a lot of feminists say, right?
This is what they I mean, a lot of our problems is because of this feminization. I sit down and I see this. Men when they're around men, they operate very differently. When they're around women, it changes the dynamic. And because they've given the state a lot of backing to get women to do things, a lot of the men don't want to stand up. The ones that do stand up, they pay the ultimate price because the women instinctively know that they can't compete with those men, but then they still need those men to create the solutions to deal with this, because I look at what's going on here, and men and women fundamentally look at power structures very differently. Traditionally, women appeal to the power structure, men create the power structure. And the men today are acting like they can't do it, and they're still looking to the power structure to do it. So it's like, no, you are the power structure. Because you get 100 men walking into a place angry, you get 100 women walking into a place angry. The people that see them, they're going to be like, the women are a minor inconvenience. The men, if we don't do this, it will turn deadly fast. Because anytime a man interacts with another man, there's always the potential that there's deadly force that's going to happen. Because if you find that man raped your kid, he's not going to live, right? Like, that's deadly force conflict. Women don't, they're not wired that way. This is not the way they live life. Everything with man, it's war. And so when you have the people that aren't thinking that way, how do they deal with those problems to protect themselves from the thing they don't know how to protect themselves from? And then on top of that, protect the men from the thing they don't even know how to protect themselves from. Like, right? Like, you need to deal with the women that are going crazy, and we can deal with the men that are doing craziness, right? Like, that seems fair to me. Seems like
Yeah, but unfortunately, a major political party and the legacy media are all in on stoking the crazy. They're not trying to, and this is something else I noticed ever since I started paying attention. I'm like, the world is already always like a bunch of Kindle that can potentially go to flames at any time. And they're not trying to keep that wood wet and keep everything cool. They're, you know, at first when I was paying attention, they were just taking matches to it. Now they're taking blowtorches to the kindling. They're, because I think they see women as they're weaponizing our compassion to get us to commit cultural suicide is what they're doing. And they know women are the best channel for that because it's easier to play on women's heartstrings. And a lot of the men will go along with it because they have been kind of cowed to their women. So it's, we don't have, even, you can't even trust therapists. You know, like if all these kids, like the one, the detransitioner who just, you know, sued her doctor and psychiatrist for $2 million, even the therapists are nurturing the crazy. They're not trying. There's no objective reality anymore.
Well, I was listening to one woman. She said that psychology is not becoming. It is a field that is dominated by women right now. And when you get this type of thing, certain ideas are going to be rejected. Women operate and I'm saying every woman, but I'm saying on average, women and men, they operate fundamentally very different when they're in positions of power. Like when you watch this with the dating and the hypergamy aspect of a woman wants someone to provide for them, a woman makes this amount of money, the average woman, she doesn't give a damn about the men that make less. As far as she's concerned, the chopped liver. But you know what? More women are earning more than men, right? Women are going to university, getting degrees, they're making more money. They might have a ton more debt because they took on a bunch of student loans, but they're making more money. So a lot of the men that are down here not making this money, they don't even exist to them. But men, when they have more money, they look at the people below them because they're designed to look after their family. And guess what? Your newborn baby, they're going to be broken, helpless. So you're looking out to make sure that they get the most protection. And then the mother that's taking care of that baby, they need to be protected. So we naturally look at these things. Women don't. And so when you put them in positions of power, they're going to have a lot of blind spots because they're not wired to do this. And even if they're the best intentioned, they're still going to cause harm because they're not wired to look after things the way that men are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not instinctive to them.
I feel like a lot of women are only going into psychology because they want someone to tell them how to fix their problems and why they're so messed up because they have no male centered like guidance in their life. And if they actually had strong fathers in their home, they wouldn't need to go to psychology degrees because they would know how to fix their problems. They'd know what was wrong with them. They'd have accountability and they would know the steps to take. Like they'd have the tools to actually function. And a lot of people who go into psychology just want someone to tell them who they are and why they're that way and why they're messed up and how to solve their problems. It's like you're telling me that you have no idea. You can't sit down and reflect and tell yourself why you feel what you feel. Someone asked me a question the other day, and I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? This is the deeper meaning as to why I'm doing this. And this is why I should stop. And this is how I'm going to stop. And this is what I'm going to do to implement a certain behavior so I can actually progress past it. Most people don't think that way today,
Right.
though, because they don't have fathers, or they have fathers, they just don't respect them because their mom's a feminist and the dad's a cuck. And then they go and they try to have a guy around, they won't even respect him. So the things that they should be learning from a man, they're going to degrees to learn from. Most women are not even depressed, they just need a man. Like I know so many women who online they talk about on TikTok and stuff, they'll make videos like how they used to be extremely depressed and they thought that they had anxiety, all these other things, and then when they met a guy, they got a boyfriend who was a good guy, he taught them how to do all these things, and they're like, I was perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I just needed a man in my life. Most of the things, women are looking in the wrong direction for solutions when the solution is literally a man. Like most women don't need degrees. They don't even use them. They'll get degrees, then they'll get married, and then they'll waste it. And then the man has to pay for the degree that she never used. And she was just using the degree as a front to try and get a man's attention. She gets with him. She completely lets go of the whole career. It's like the biggest fraud ever. And that's what they teach women how to
Totally.
get men now. Go to university, you'll find a man. It's like, we can skip the education, the secondary education, because it's all trash now anyways. It's indoctrination, it's feminism, it's all the trash. It's every ism that you can think of. And then, just replace it with respecting your father and having a good man. You'll be successful in life, like literally. And it will save time, it'll save energy, it'll save money, patience, and all that crap.
Yep. And find a good man. Don't pick a loser. Oh my gosh. These women it's like they're bummed and they're crying and it's like, wait, are you still with the guy who you told me cheated on you like last year? Yeah, I gave him another chance. Yeah, well, how's that working out for you? It's like, come on. My gosh. I don't know. I have a really good radar on men. I can tell I have an awesome guy. So
But this is why fathers generally help them navigate this, because most of them are clueless. They're like, okay, if that guy disrespects your father, then he's going to disrespect you. So don't talk to him, right? It's not controlling them, but it's helping them see the things that they can. If they were going to like men that they trusted and asking, saying, look, what about this person? They'll be like, look, this, and this. Don't do this. This is the reason why, right? Because my daughter, she did some things. She realized, well, my dad wasn't lying to me. He knew what he was talking about, because every time I said something, it happened. And so then now she'll come and ask me because I want her to be happy and have a family. I don't want somebody to be beating the brakes off her or something like that. No, have a family, go out successful. I don't want it. Yes, I want to see you, but I don't want you coming back because you failed. You want to have a successful family. And that's kind of where we need to go back to doing this, and not saying just looking at the six pack, six figures, 6 feet, whatever the trend is. You have to look at the contents of the person's character. What are they like? And then hold yourself. Don't give yourself away. Just because all the other women are doing that, you might get a man for the night, but you won't get him for the long term. And we need to kind of go back to simple stuff. Yeah.
And women need to be I mean, the brutal reality is that may work when you're young and at your peak as a woman, but men get more dignified as they age, and women, if you're just relying on your looks and your sex appeal, well, that has an expiration date. So you better be working on yourself and being worthy of, I've never understood, like, I've never had a rule as far as they had to be a certain height or they had to, I don't care about any of that. They just have to be smart. They have to be funny.
Yeah.
They have to be able to make me laugh. Like, and they have to have
Yeah.
good taste in music, because I'm not going to listen to
Yeah.
like junk music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I've always thought, like, another reason I'm glad I'm a woman and not a man is I honestly think men are so easy to keep happy. All you've got to do is feed them and play with them. That's it. Like, feed them, play with them, and give them a nice home. That's it. Like, you know, don't be something they have to avoid because you're nagging at them all the time. I don't know how men figure out what women want. I don't know, because I don't know what women want. You have to,
Honestly,
I don't know. I mean,
I know. I'm the, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
done.
no, I'm the same way. I literally, I don't care about like 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 pack, 6 inches, like all that crap. Like, I don't care. I want someone who's gonna like be genuine with me, someone I can laugh with, like you said, someone who's smart, most importantly, like, because I can't sleep next to someone for the rest of my life who makes me want to bash my head into the wall because like I can't stand the sound of their voice or like anything that comes out of their mouth. Like, I need someone who can teach me things. And it's like, I've never understood the women that are like using sex appeal for stuff, because it's like, I feel like I'm so focused on the mentality of like getting to know someone like intellectually that I literally just don't know how to flirt or do any of that kind of stuff, like that sex appeal kind of stuff, because I'm just like it's the character above everything. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, plus
I
you're
think it's so much easier.
You're majorly introverted like I am. I remember when we were at AmFest, we're the same.
Yeah.
And so flirting isn't really going to be on our radar, because it's like we don't even know if we want to spend any more time with you. So we're not to that point yet. So, stimulate me with some interesting conversation, and then maybe we'll hang out and talk again. That's about the extent of it.
I think the best way for me to know, like, if I feel like I can just go for a drive with someone and watch like the sunset and just talk for hours, like, I'm not the kind of person that wants to go on fancy dinner dates and all that stuff. If I can go on a drive with you and talk for hours nonstop, and we have like cool vibing music just low in the back, that's my person. That's my person for life.
Well,
I feel you.
I think we know what we're going to have our conversation for the next podcast, because I mean, this is probably something that people need to learn about, because a lot of people do a lot of things in a lot of wrong ways. And like, you're watching the feminists teaching like nonsense, you're watching the red pill teaching nonsense. Some of this stuff is true, but a lot of the stuff isn't. And you want to get the most effective stuff, because we're watching like the I this is and we're gonna wrap up here, but I just want to say this: when the way that they make this whole thing out, like, okay, like Myron Gates, he says a man should go and sleep with 50 women before he settles down, but then you want to go and have a virgin. Think about this: how this is going to work. If each man sleeps with 50 women, how many virgins are left? None. And if there are any, do you think that you're entitled to get somebody's daughter who's a virgin, when you just ran through a bunch of women and took their virginity and now are calling them hoes? No.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we need to have reality checks here, because a lot of people, if you're a man and you have a 500 woman body count, you can't complain if a woman has 50 or 100, because you know what? You went and ran up a bunch of women's body counts in the first place. So we need to start looking at this, because the unrealistic expectations that people have now, it's like, you made this mess, now you've got to clean it up. You can't go run to somebody else and take it. You made that mess, deal with it. And that's really all they have to do. It like all these guys that are running around that have done all this, you can't go around and sit down and say nothing, right? You can't.
Yeah.
You're part of the problem. Both of them, both the men and the women that are all doing that, you guys need to zip it and start fixing the problem. right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I know we're running up on time, and I know that your guys gonna be coming home soon. So let's let people give your final thoughts and let people know where they can reach you.
Well, my final thoughts are that the world would be better if women would focus on raising happy little kids and providing a wonderful home for their husband to come home to, and their husband is out there working his butt off, providing, so that the woman can just focus on creating the perfect home, as close to perfect as you can get. Everything would be better. Kids would be happier. The workplace would balance itself back towards the more optimal ratio, and just, yeah. And then the power would go back more to the family, and the state would have a lot less power. So, and I don't mean to bash on women. I think women are amazing. They just need to remember what makes them amazing, and it's not trying to be a man. So, and men, don't go trying to be a woman. Be happy to be a man. Be happy to be a man. Men are awesome. And it's no wonder so many men are saying they're women, because men have been the villain for half a century. So it's no wonder. But
Yes, they have.
And then, I'm just, where can you find me? I'm always on X and Facebook. Just
what's your X handle? Tell people.
At Moonitz. So that's it.
All right. Well, that's great. I mean, it was always great to have you. We look forward to the next one. Hopefully,
yeah. Now I'm set up, so kind of.
I mean, it's you know what? It's not a dumpster fire, so it's good, right?
That's true.
Right.
It took a little bit to get rolling, but I never did get the live stream going. But that's all right. We'll start sooner next time.
Yes, we will.
I mean, doing the live stream.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
all
I mean, yes, and I'll close with a prayer. I'll give my daughter final thoughts, but it was great having you. And guys, go sign up on Cali Corner on Rumble. That is where you can watch it on Rumble with Nikki, her home for the podcast that we do with her. And like, share, subscribe, and so forth. And I will close with a prayer, and then I'll give my daughter final thoughts before we close it down. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and Father, help the men and the women to start getting sense and to get out of this nonsense indoctrination, and that they would humble themselves before God and to, Lord, rebuild our families, our churches, our community, our nation, protect our children from the filthy wickedness that we see happening more and more this day, and get rid of all these criminals that are ruling over us.
All right. Thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. And thanks, Nikki, for joining us. Guys, Nikki, honestly, like she said, we are the same. We are the same personality and everything. Like, she clocked it. I clocked it that's actually when I think I originally clocked it. Like, when we met in person the first time, I was like, no, we're literally the same. I love it. She's extremely intelligent. She's so sweet. I love everything that she has to say all the time. And I really hope that you guys go check out her page, because she'll be out there with Twitter fingers, dropping it like it's hot, just the facts, and I love it. And so her show is going to be great. You guys need to stay tuned for the upcoming streams. Go check her on Cali's Corner. Make sure to hit the bell notification to get updated every single time we start. And yeah, I guess all I can really say to add on to what, they've already said so far is that, men need to be men again, and women need to be women. There's beauty in that. There's cohesion, and it comes together in a very melodic way when we actually take, I guess, some pride in who we are, who God created us to be. So yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks you for joining us, and to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend. Ciao.